What's the punchline?
The punchline is that we need to have more conversations with our kids about money because there's a direct connection between talking about money and teaching kids all of the good values we want to imprint in their silly little brains before we shove them out into the world.
Do you think we were taught about money when we were kids and it's just not happening today, or it's never happened?
I think there was much less talking about money when we were younger. I think many of our questions were sort of brushed away as something that was age inappropriate or even impolite, something that you didn't talk about, not just with people who were not blood related.
So maybe I'm confused. I thought you meant here's how to save money, here's how to open an account, here's a passbook. Are you saying we should be telling our kids, here's how much money I make, here's how much I'm struggling?
So the practical tips and the tools, the how to do allowance and how to think about smartphones, that comes as a result of the questions that kids ask from the very beginning. So the first time they often handle money is when the tooth fairy comes and they want to know, well, this is great, what can I buy with it and how can I get some more money? And then you begin with the allowance and it sort of goes from there.
If you talk to your kids about money the right way, what happens 10 years from now? How does their behavior change versus what they might otherwise become?
Here's what we have to worry about that we didn't have to worry about quite as much even a decade ago, but certainly 20 or 30 years ago, which is that we've got 16 and 17-year-olds making six-figure decisions about college as they approach the question of how to pay for college and whether to take on tens of thousands of dollars of student loan debt. These are teenagers making these decisions. It's lunacy, but it's the reality that we're dealing with. And so they need to be ready, and we need to be laying 10 years of groundwork so they're ready to make one of the biggest financial decisions of their life as a teenager.
Do you call this financial literacy, or do you prefer to call it something else?
I think when people hear the term financial literacy, they think about things that happen in schools. And what I'm talking about is what goes on at home. Because if you believe, as I do, that there's a direct connection between talking about money and teaching kids values, you don't want to outsource that to a teacher. Even a teacher in a Catholic school.
This is not for
school
home
of faith,
right?
No, this is something that you want to be in charge of yourself, and you want to be doing the download because you want your kids to stand for some of the same things that you stand for.
Is the fact that we've become cashless, that you can charge so many things, make it harder for kids to feel connected and understand money? My kids don't even see it that often.
It is, and it's true. And you want to look for opportunities so that they can see, sort of the visceral use of actual green cash money in your everyday grown-up life. But as kids, we want them to be collecting allowance over many years, 5, 6, 7, 8, in coins and in green cash bills so they can count it, they can watch it grow, they can see it happen, and then maybe they can go virtual after that.
What if the number, so if it's good advice to tell our kids how much we make, what if the number is gargantuan? I was talking to a guy who works in finance a few weeks ago.
Makes a gazillion dollars.
Told me he makes $20 million a year. What happens if you tell your kids that you make $20 million a year?
Chances are if you make that money, they're going to find out.
They figure that out already.
Already, right?
Because yeah, but do you really want them saying that number on a playground? 20 million, how you like me now?
No, you don't. But you don't tell them until they're ready. And readiness happens over the course of a decade. But the issue with having a lot of money, right, is that if you have that kind of money, if the kids Google your name, they're going to find out stuff about you, and it may not be right. And if you're shutting them down and not answering their questions, they're going to end up with the wrong impression, with the wrong information, and thinking that they need to turn to the internet to get their answer.
Ron, is there one way that you found to successfully imbue children with the right values around money?
I think the thing that I would focus on there is helping your kids understand why it is that you give the way that you give, assuming that you're a family that gives at least some money away. Bring them in on that conversation, because the sort of asset allocation of your charity, of your charitable budget, says something about who you are and what you stand for. And if you stop to look at it that way, you may actually decide, or your kids may help you decide, that it doesn't really fit what the family stands for, and it may be time to do something a little differently.